Hi guys, so Matt Hancock, the Health Secretary, was in Parliament on Tuesday to lay out his new border restrictions package, a three-tiered approach, which would impose a £1,750 requirement on residents returning from a list of 33 countries on this red list. So let's hear what he had to say.
Mr. Speaker, let me set out the three elements of the strengthened end-to-end system for international arrivals coming into force on 15th of February. This new system is for England, and we're working on similarly tough schemes with the devolved administrations and working with the Irish government to put in place a system that works across the common travel area. The three parts are as follows: hotel quarantine, testing and enforcement. First, Mr. Speaker, we're setting up a new system of hotel quarantine for UK and Irish residents who've been in red list countries in the last 10 days.
Okay, one question. Why just those two groups? So, UK and Irish residents. What about other countries? Shouldn't you have the same restrictions on other countries? And why is it just 33 countries on this red list? Why doesn't it cover more countries?
In short, this means that any returning residents from these countries will have to quarantine in an assigned hotel room for 10 days from the time of arrival. Before they travel, they'll have to book through an online platform and pay for a quarantine package costing £1,750 for an individual travelling alone, which includes the hotel, transport and testing.
Now, there was a lot of concern about this £1,750. And I had initially thought this is probably, something that the hotels are charging because of the risk involved. But that's not the case, because I want to show you this. This is from an article. I'll leave a link to the original article in the description of this video. But it says here from an expert, Paul Charles from the travel consultancy, the PC Agency, said that he has seen a government document indicating that hotels are only being offered £50 a night to participate in this scheme. So the £1,750 is not going to the hotels, or not even half of it is going to the hotels, despite those on Bath Road near Heathrow Airport currently charging an average of £77 a night to members of the public. Okay, he added, it's no wonder hotels are less than enthusiastic. Their costs will outstrip the income from government. He also warned that the UK economy would take a massive hit from the lack of certainty over reopening. Once again, I go back to, why are these restrictions on just residents returning? Why isn't it for everyone entering the UK?
Booking system will go live on Thursday.
Just one, maybe it's because it's about, we don't care about people returning. We do care about tourists coming or business people coming to spend money in the country. We don't care much about residents.
When we'll also publish the full detailed guidance. Passengers will only be able to enter the UK through a small number of ports that currently account for the vast majority of passenger arrivals. When they arrive, they'll be escorted to a designated hotel, which will be closed to guests who aren't quarantining for 10 days or for longer if they test positive for COVID-19 during their stay.
Is this to everyone? Does this include politicians? Does this include celebrities, for example? Or is it just members of the public?
We've contracted 16 hotels for an initial 4,600 rooms, and we will secure more as they are needed. People will need to remain in their rooms and of course will not be allowed to mix with other guests, and there will be visible security in place to ensure compliance alongside necessary support, so even as we protect public health, we can look after the people in our care.
I think it would make sense to commandeer hotels. Give the hotel group, give them a huge amount of money and say, just let us run the hotel. Or give them a certain amount of money, but I had originally thought part of this £1,750 was going to the hotels, but it doesn't seem to be the case. the government are paying them the below average cost per the room and forcing the people to stay there. Where is this 1,700 figure coming from?
Second, Mr. Speaker, we're strengthening testing. All passengers are already required to take a pre-departure test and cannot travel to this country if it is positive. From Monday, all international arrivals, whether under home quarantine or hotel quarantine, will be required by law to take further PCR tests on day 2 and day 8 of that quarantine. Passengers will have to book these tests through our online portal before they travel. Anyone planning to travel to the UK from Monday needs to book these tests, and the online portal will go live on Thursday. If either of these post-arrival tests comes back positive, they'll have to quarantine for a further 10 days from the date of the test and will of course be offered any NHS treatment that's necessary. Any positive result will...
This is something positive. So if I'm understanding correctly, anyone coming into the country must test negative before they fly, and when they arrive, they must quarantine. Well, that's a correct approach. I just don't understand why it's for residents that they have to pay this £1,750 package.
Will automatically undergo genomic sequencing to confirm whether they have a variant of concern. Under home quarantining, the existing test-to-release scheme, which my right honourable friend, the Transport Secretary, has built so effectively, can still be used from day 5, but this will be in addition to the 2 mandatory tests. The combination of enhanced testing and sequencing has been a powerful weapon through this pandemic, and we'll be bringing it to bear so we can find positive cases, break the chains of transmission, and prevent new cases and new variants from putting us at risk.
This is all very good. And I commend Matt Hancock and his department for doing this. I think it would have been better to do this earlier on, not almost 1 year after the outbreak. Because we've seen other countries, South Korea, we've seen New Zealand taking a much more aggressive approach, and they've had much more success.
Third, Mr. Speaker, we'll be backing this new system with strong enforcement of both home quarantine and hotel quarantine. People who flout these rules are putting us all at risk. Passenger carriers will have a duty in law to make sure that passengers have signed up for these new arrangements before they travel and will be fined if they don't. And we'll be putting in place tough fines for people who don't comply. This includes a £1,000 penalty for any international arrival who fails to take a mandatory test, a £2,000 penalty to any international arrival who fails to take the second mandatory test, as well as automatically extending their quarantine period to 14 days, and a £5,000 fixed penalty notice, rising to £10,000 for arrivals who fail to quarantine in a designated hotel. We're also coming down hard on people who provide false information on the passenger locator form. Anyone who lies on the passenger locator form and tries to conceal that they've been in a country on the red list in the 10 days before arrival here will face a prison sentence of up to 10 years.
Wow. Okay, that's a bit. So this was, I think this is an attempt to close a loophole. The loophole being that you could fly from one of these red list countries to a non-red list country and then fly into the UK and avoid the restrictions. But I think this is an attempt to close that loophole, where if you lie, if you say, no, I don't know how they're going to identify, whether they have some sort of system to understand whether people had, because if I was in a red zone or red listed country and then I flew to a non-red listed country and then booked a flight the next day, on a completely different system, how would the government know about that? So people could lie. Is this an attempt to hope that people will not lie? The threat of lying means you'll go to prison. Maybe they're hoping that people will not know whether the government have the ability to check or not. It's a risk, but perhaps it's better to take this risk than just hope that people will tell the truth.
These measures will be put into law this week, and I've been working with the Home Secretary, the Border Force and the police to make sure more resources are being put into enforcing these measures. I make no apologies for the strength of these measures, because we're dealing with one of the strongest threats to our public health that we've faced as a nation. I know that most people have been doing their bit, making huge sacrifices as part of the national effort, and these new enforcement powers will make sure their hard work and sacrifice isn't undermined by a small minority who don't want to follow the rules. Mr. Speaker, in short, we're strengthening the health protection at the border in 3 crucial ways: hotel quarantine for UK and Irish residents who visited a red list country in the past 10 days, and home quarantine for all passengers from any other country. A 3-test regime for all arrivals.
So I think this is good. My only question about all of this is, why does this quarantine where people have to pay £1,750 to stay in a hotel, why is it for residents? Why is it not for everyone? Now, when I start to think about it a bit more, perhaps it's because the government don't want to destroy the hospitality industry. This is in a sense a way to protect the hospitality industry, because the requirement is for residents, people who are not coming to the UK as a tourist. They're returning home. I still also don't understand where this £1,750 figure has come from, because if we once again look at where it says here in this report, it says the government are paying the hotels £50 a night when the average is about £77 a night. So the hotels are taking a hit. Where is this £1,750 coming from? If you know, guys, let me know in the comment section, guys. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?